Well, now that is ambient. That's ambient you can take a bath in, baby. What's up? It's Sunday morning. You're in a big bath with Father Moon. It's okay, there's lots of space and there's no touching, but we are in the same bath. We are technically in a bath. And it's Sunday morning. And we're in church. We're in a bath in a church. Yeah, that's right. Man, that's some good ambient. Well, you are listening to the Nord Micromodular being run through a bad boy known as the Chase BLISS Mood. In our last two streams, we heard the Nord Modular through the Hologram Microcosm, which I would say was a pretty big success. But this is the first time with the Chase BLISS Mood being hooked up. There it is, you can see it on your screen. The Chase BLISS Mood is the one on the left, the purple guy. Both Microcosm and Mood are both, they're both delay pedals, and they both do a lot more than that. They do internal looping, but not in the sense of looping like building a track, more like a buffer of audio for the delay to play back in weird ways. So they're very different and they're very similar, and most people probably wouldn't need both of them, but if you're as ambient as Father Moo is, you kind of need them. Heck, I got so many delays. I got 4 delays in modular alone, not even getting into the standalone delays. But yeah, what we came to do today is to dub it down, and that's what we're going to do now. You can see on the screen the rock and roll Excel file, famous Excel file once used by Father Moo. And I'm not an expert on the Chase BLISS Mood, but it does its own thing, and we're gonna lay it down. If it turns out to be a bad take, too bad. That's a shame. But tape is cheap, and yeah. So we're gonna repeat some of the patches you probably heard before, but we did them first just straight up with a little bit of reverb. Then we did them with the Microcosm. Now doing them again with the Mood. We'll figure out which one was better later by comparing. But yeah, let's just do some laying down of the tracks today. And the fun thing is you get to listen to the incredibly good ambient sounds coming out of this pedal. So I was playing around with track 64, patch number 64. I think I'm going to try this one here, 49, which I've labeled as good ambient transition part. And I think I'm going to record that through the Mood next. So there's the patch. Oh yeah, lo-fi landscape. Again, you may not see me tweaking knobs on screen because I'm tweaking knobs in real life. I don't currently have the hardware set up to record that. So you'll just have to just listen in this one. As I said in the Microcosm ones, these streams are more about your ears than your eyes anyway. Just let your ears do the listening and don't listen with your eyes. It's the best advice I've ever given. Do not listen with your eyes. Okay, I'm putting down the mic and laying down the tape. Here we go. Wow, what can you say except wow, man. Now that was quite a take. Let's take a look at the screen here. I think I've learned something from these delay-based takes is that I can go back and I can play it back just to recount certain places in the recording that I thought were interesting or notable, whatever. So definitely one big moment in this particular patch started off with a setting. There's a switch which on the mood which says reverb, delay, and slip. So we started in reverb mode, which you can hear. At least for me, I can hear the reverb quite clearly. And no, this isn't sound card reverb because you can see I've turned it off. Here, it's only on channel 2, which is my microphone. But I grabbed that switch and I flipped it and it went into delay mode. And it was kind of a, shock is too strong of a word, but the sound changed. I think it's right around here. Let's just listen again. That was exactly it. Let me go back a little bit earlier. That. So what it's done is gone into more delay mode, and it's grabbing like little loops out of the audio stream and looping them, which is why you get that bass pattern right around here. That's me messing with the knobs again. So what it did is it really introduced a lot of change into the patch. You could say it was a bit abrupt. You could also accuse it of going from reverb to not reverbed. It's still delayed, but reverb is its own sort of tone quality. And when we took it out, it was pretty noticeable, at least to me. Like if you... Those are echoed or delayed, but they're not reverbed. But I found it interesting. I like this take. I have a feeling it's going to get used. And yeah, later on I went and I switched it back again. So in future takes, would I mess around with this switch? Probably not. I'd probably pick a location and save it. But I think it's fine for the situation as it stands. I think I want to make another folder here. By the way, for anybody who is interested, the reason I'm making a new folder is because I already went through all the album recordings that we've done so far in the first 9 Dubdown sessions. I turned them all into WAV files, although they're not mastered or mixed in any way. Some of them are quite quiet. And I exported all those WAV files to a big folder, and then I shoved them onto Google Drive. So if you go to the description of my channel, you can see a link there where you can download all the WAV files for yourself. And if you want to sort of jam along with Father Moo and make your own remixes of this stuff, that's the way to do it. So I'm just making another recordings folder so that I can know not to accidentally mix up the stuff that's been exported with the stuff that has to be exported again. So this one is patch 49. I don't know which dub it is. I think it's probably dub 03. And I'm going to put mood. Yeah, I think that'll probably do the job. So yeah, anyway, even for the last thing I want to say about the recording that we just made. Let's see if I can find it again. There's one very distinctive knob on the Mood, which is called the clock knob. So as a default, I had this set to 12K, which is sort of like the midpoint or midnight, the quote-unquote normal setting. But if you dial it to the left, you get fifth and then octave reductions of your sound because the clock is running at a slower rate, so it pitches it down. Let me see if I can find it doing that here. This is back in the reverb mode. Look, there it is, right there. You heard it go doo-doo. That. So, yeah, I mean, if you ask me what's the difference between the Mood and the Microcosm has a clock-type knob, but I think it's set up differently, so it doesn't have that immediate octave shift sound that this one does. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not in the game of selling pedals here. You don't need to go out and buy the same pedals as me. In fact, I'd rather you didn't, so I can pretend to be an original Moo. But yeah, it's good to know what the differences are and then exploit them if you can. Of course, there are also both stereo pedals, and we're recording in mono, which is probably a crime against nature in itself. But there's only so much we can do on the fixed budget that we have. Okay, so let's find another sequence to do. Yeah, I think we'll run the temple sequence through the mood, just because God knows I love the temple sequence, and I want to be able to contrast it later with the other recordings we have of it. I can see myself piecing together a track which had all three versions of the temple sequence, one just with reverb, one with the microcosm, and one with the mood, and put them all together in one track. I'm sure we could get we can milk a lot of good tones out of this. So same deal. I'm going to put the microphone down, I'm going to hit record, and I'm going to twist some knobs on the mood again. In case you're wondering, the clock is going back to the midnight position, and the reverb switch is in reverb mode. I can't remember what slip does. It probably means something like scatter, like to slip between samples or something granular. So if you hear something real wacky happen, it may be me switching to that mode in the middle of the recording just to find out what it is, and we can always analyze it afterwards. Okay, mic down, tape roll. Let's get ambient, baby. Okay, that is it. Well, suffice it to say that was an extremely odd take. And yes, is this because Father Moo has never used this pedal before? I think it's fair to say that it is. Let's just recap there. We started off in reverb mode. You can hear those nice long reverb tails, but something I didn't quite love about this, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the kind of reverb didn't suit the drum tones that were coming out of the tempo sequence. Just listen for a bit. You hear how the pitched bell is sort of like beep, 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 beep. It's not exactly. I'm sure there's a time and place for that kind of delay, but it wasn't really doing it for me. So I already felt when I was in reverb mode, I was like, I'm just going to screw around with things for a bit because I want to learn the pedal, and I'm not afraid to make a mistake and ruin the recording because it's a recording. Here's a big switch. It hasn't happened yet. Oh, it must be around here. Here we go. Okay, so right away I can say I don't really like that much because since the reverb suddenly declines to nothing, it's kind of ruining my ambient cloud. It's too abrupt of a stop. Now, it's true that this is where I switched the button to the slip mode, but there are synths and there are effects where if you change settings, they let the last setting fade out naturally before they switch to the new one completely. It makes for a smoother transition. So is this fixable? I might go in and dub another layer of reverb over it so that when the one built into the pedal dies, the other one decays more naturally, and then it hits the reversey section. But in that section, I don't know if I want to call it ambient exactly. I mean, it's a reverse delay. It kind of took the melody out of the piece. There was a kind of melody here. Sorry, here. Maybe it was here. Yeah, those high notes are playing a melody. But once you go into reverse mode, everything's backwardsy, but we don't really have a melody anymore. Anyway, it's certainly an unusual mode for the pedal. But it's cool that it's there, and again, there's a reverse setting on the microcosm, but it certainly doesn't do things the same way, so it's good for me to know this is here. So since I was exploring, I decided to go into delay mode again as well, which should be, come on, you stupid. Yeah, here. But I'm still messing with the knob and getting some weird time shifting effects. One of the knob on the top left of the mood is marked time in conjunction with modify. But I find if you grab it and twist it, you get too many, it sounds like a tape or a cassette speeding up or slowing down. It's not a super, it's a useful knob to have, but it's not one you want to twist in real time. Oh, you can see now we've gone back to the reverb mode again. You can hear those tails. So yeah, this is definitely a very odd little experiment. Like I said, I'm going to leave it up, and I will export it like the other ones and let anyone who wants to mess around with it. But it's probably, even more than the last one, it's probably too weird to use in the actual mixdowns. But heck, I chalk it up to just learning the pedal. You know, it's rare for me to go live on a stream with an instrument I haven't already learned at least the basics of. And so we heard some of that today with Mood. In fact, there is even another switch I'm looking at here underneath the looper section, which is labeled envelope, tape, and stretch. And we're currently in tape mode, but I didn't even have a chance to mess around with that in the recordings we heard so far. So it'll have to be saved for another day. Anyway, I'm running out of time in the old office studio here, so I'm just going to mark these down. Done times 2, I guess it's for the first 2. So I'm just going to mark mood for the ones that I made a mood version of. And I'm going to mess around with this some more and come back to it later. Oh, I hope you're also, I don't know if it's the same exact target audience, but I put up those Dungeon Stream Dead streams. I hope you find those funny. I'll be doing a few more of those. I like the area between ambient and dark ambient, but I also like the simplicity of the melodies. And to be perfectly honest with you, I love the sound of the RS-09. It's such a awesome keyboard. It's very simple. It only really does organ and strings, and it does them in a very inauthentic way by modern standards. It doesn't sound like a sampled string or a sampled organ for that matter, but either way, the sound that's coming out of it is just this beautiful paraphonic analog gorgeousness, and when you put it in creepy mode and play it in the dark, it sounds even better, at least to me. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back with, we're going to try and keep the variety up, keep doing dungeon synth stuff, doing modular stuff, doing ambient stuff. We're going to do it all. I'm going to be doing more live to tape ambient streams, not only of dungeon synth music, but of actual ambient music like you're hearing coming out of the pedals in this Dubdown session. So stay tuned if you want to see this large variety of things that will be coming out on the channel in the weeks and months to come. So stay subscribed and stay liked and stay woke, and we'll see you all next time. Father Moo here. Have a good Sunday.